Hi everyone, welcome back to another video demo. Sorry it's been a while. I think it's been about 3 or 4 weeks I've not posted one. I have actually done a few videos but they were rubbish, so I deleted them. But anyway, hopefully this one will be okay. Now then, several of you have asked me about how I go about laying out a drawing. You know, getting the proportions right and the perspective right and everything. So I'll do that for you. I'll show you one of the methods I use. It's a very simple method. It's very easy to do. And the picture we'll be doing today is this. So I'll show you what I'll be drawing from. Get that in the frame, about there. Okay, it's a Norfolk garden, North Norfolk. I've got it's not a photo I took actually, I've got a pretty good idea where it is. I think it's in Stiffkey, but I'm not too sure. Anyway, that's what I'll be drawing today, and hopefully I'll be doing a time lapse of this from start to finish, and I'll be using Graphitints and coloured pencils and watercolour and everything. So you'll see this from start to finish. But what I'm going to show you is a very, very simple way just to get a few reference points so you can start this drawing and get everything in proportion and fitting in the frame nicely. Now, one of the important things about doing this method is you must have a photo that's the same size or smaller than the paper that you're working on. And the reason is because we need to square the paper there along the bottom edge and along the top edge, and we leave a little gap just there so that the paper underneath is just sticking out a little bit. And basically what we do, we just take reference points of, like, for example, the bottom of the roof, the top of the roof, where that roof leaves the picture just there, maybe the top and the bottom of the hedge, and we just literally draw a line at the side of the paper there. And something else you can use, yes, you know, I use these kind of things, are a bit controversial, but who cares. So I'll just line that up with the bottom of the roof there, and I'll just put a mark on the side of the paper there. Same with the top, just a little mark, and the same again just there. Okay, so that's given us 3 reference points of where that roof finishes, top of that roof, bottom of that roof. And just to make things easier, I'll just mark this hedge at the bottom and the top and explain something else. Now, if I was to take that piece of paper away and you were to see those lines, I hope you can, I don't know if you can see them on the camera, I'll just hold it up. If you can see those lines, now once that picture's gone, you haven't got a clue, you can't remember which is which. Which is the top of the roof, the bottom of the roof, or is that the hedge? I can't remember. So the best thing to do is just to make a little note at the side. So for example, in that gap there, I know that that's the hedge, so I'll just write hedge. This may seem all a bit simple, but you know, it is quite an effective way of keeping everything right. And I'll just put roof in there, and I'll know what that one is. I won't forget that one, it's the only one there. Because we're not going to seal this, because basically what's going to happen is I'm going to get the masking tape and stick my paper down onto the board and you know, wet it, paint it, etc. and draw. And it's basically going to be the thickness of this white border on the photo. So we're not going to see this writing anyway, and when we peel the masking tape off we can erase it. Right, so that's for that side, and for this side we'll do exactly the same thing. Sorry about that, my camera just cut out then. Right, what I was saying was we'll just line it up on the other side now, making sure the top and the bottom is absolutely in line with the paper underneath, and we'll draw these reference points in, bottom edge of the roof there, and the top edge just there. Actually that's not very straight, that's going to be a bit low, about like that. I'll mark the top of the chimney as well. It's not that important, but I'll do it. And the top of the church there. Remember to keep this all kind of square, don't, you know, get doing that, so keep an eye that it's kind of level. Just mark the top there. I'll do the same again on this side with the bushes as well. What I'll do, it's not a very clear line there, but I'll just mark the top of that bush there. And I'll eyeball the rest in when I come to drawing it. So if I write in roof just there, I'll put CH on that line. I know that's the chimney. Oh, I put CH on that one for the church. I'll just put S for steeple, then I'll know. Right, okay. Actually, I should have put chimney in there, shouldn't I? Then that's going to be the length of it. So there we go. That's it. So now that's given us both sides the exact reference points of the placement of the buildings. Okay, we can do the same now if we want to along the top edge. So what we do, we keep the sides perfectly in line. Top edge there, we leave a gap. I'm not going to put everything, I'm just going to sort of, I mean the church will be an ideal marker there, so I'll just put in the lines for the church. One there, and there. I'll just get that back edge there, like that. And that's gave us the dimensions, and it's going to help us with this perspective of getting the sides of the church in proportion. I'll just do a mark, just the centre of that chimney. It's not really that important there. Just give me a reference point to work to. Maybe just do one there as well on the top edge of that house. I mean, I think that's enough. That's all I really need to get going there. Okay. So we'll go to the bottom, and now there's several ways of doing these aerial perspective lines. I'll show you another way in a second, but I'll just mark in roughly where the bottom of this path comes on the edge of the paper. Now when we're talking aerial perspective, if I'll just quickly show you on a sketchbook, and this is another method that I use sometimes when I come across these sorts of drawings. If we imagine we've got a horizon line there, that's basically your eye level, okay? And we've got buildings, we're standing in the middle of a road or slightly off to one side on the pavement, and we're looking down and we've got buildings. So we'll say that's the vanishing point, that's the end of the road. I won't bother using a ruler actually for this, I'll just do it freehand. And you can draw lines like that. Doesn't matter where the lines are, as long as they're straight, which these aren't. I mean, you can keep going and end up with something that looks like a bike wheel or something. But if you do that as a kind of a grid reference, always remember that this is your horizon line here. And again, we could mark out the edges of the roof. So for example, if one edge of a roof came there in the drawing and it was a row of terraced houses or something, that would be the top edge of the roof. And then I probably wouldn't see too much of the roof actually, but we'll draw another line in that way. And if you can imagine that this is the roof, and that's the wall, that's the bottom edge of the roof there. This sort of thing, we'll put another line in where I'd imagine, that's not even straight, where I imagine the windows to be. So for example, you can see how the roof lines, no matter how many buildings you've got down there, these aerial perspective lines won't change. And you keep your verticals vertical, and that will give you perfect perspective when you're drawing buildings. The same with the windows. The bottom of the windows will follow that line, no matter where the building is along that road. Obviously buildings will have smaller windows, etc. in different buildings, but if we imagine the windows are all the same size, just for argument's sake, It'll all look like that, and it'll all follow these lines, and you can't go wrong. It's so accurate. It's as long as you can keep your verticals straight, that's better. It's a really good method to use. Imagine a doorway there. I mean, this is not to scale, this is just kind of mucking about, but you kind of get the idea. And maybe a pavement or something coming out there. And then when you've got your lines and your buildings all drawn in, and we don't need any more of this this grid here, we can start to rub these out. So we don't see them. I've scribbled out the one for the pavement, but you get the idea. And you've got perfect perspective, and you can do exactly the same on the other side. So that's just a little tip about perspective there. And the same applies here. I mean, I kind of worked out earlier that the horizon line is roughly along the bottom line of these trees, and it just sort of fits underneath that doorway there. So if I was to use that grid method there, I would draw a line across there and do the lines, and from there, which would be the vanishing point, that would be the top edge of the trees on both sides. And by the time I've come down, it'll all level out to the vanishing line, and by the time I've come down here, it'll give me the exact reference lines for that path. I hope you understood that. It's probably a bit complicated, but you know, there's another method as well of drawing when I'm talking about grid methods and aerial perspectives. What you can do is draw a grid, obviously equal squares. You'll need to do a ruler and get this right, and you'll just copy, and you'd have to draw a grid the same size on the picture that you're doing, and you just transfer what's in each box. So for example, if I take that box there and I just look, all that's in there is that line and that line, and I just kind of copy that like that, and then all that's in that box there is that window, and so on, until you just literally filled in all these little boxes exactly. But to me that's quite time consuming, and I never use that method. I don't actually like it, but I do use the one with the horizon line for aerial perspective. That's a fail-safe way of getting buildings absolutely spot on. Right, okay, I've been waffling on there and I forgot where I am. Where are we? Yeah, okay. So now we're just left with these reference lines. We know what they are. So that's a really good start. So now, because we're going to stick masking tape around there, I'm just going to bring these lines further into the drawing. Don't press hard with this because we're going to have to rub these out. This is just, these are just guidelines. I'm using just an HB pencil here, by the way. I can see my battery light flashing. I don't know how long I've got left on that, but let's just see what I can get done before it cuts off. Sorry, I don't think I was in the frame now, was I? Like that. To be nice and square for the church, so I'll line the top edge of the square up with the edge of the paper there. About there. Oh, my battery light's flashing. It's going to go off any minute. I just hope I can get this done and then I can pause it. Just draw those in like that. Okay, right, I'm just going to stick the masking tape on now. I'll stick this to the board and I'll get my battery charged up at the same time. So I'll just pause this and get back to you in a minute. Right, okay, we've got the masking tape on now and the paper stuck down. New battery in the camera, so we're ready to go. Right, incidentally, this paper that I'm using here is Bockingford watercolour paper. It's 140 cold pressed, so it's got a slight grain to it. So, you know, we're going to be using that because we're going to turn this into a watercolour. So, right, so we've got all these reference lines now all around the outside, all to scale, and that should give us a really good start of getting all the proportions right. Now it doesn't really matter which side we start or where we start to draw. I usually like to start in the left hand side and work my way across and down as I'm going. That way I don't smudge the drawing, but at this line drawing stage where we're just going to be blocking in the basic shapes, it doesn't really matter. And in fact on this picture we've got a really good reference of the church here. We've practically got it drawn with the three sides from the reference line, so that's where I'm going to start. Right, okay, so I know that line there is the top of the church roof, so we'll just draw that in. We've got a bit of perspective going on here. I'm just going to eyeball that in, that piece there. If it doesn't look right towards the end of the drawing or halfway through, I can always erase it and rub it out and redo it. I don't always draw like this using this method. This is basically to help people out because excuse me, some of the people that have requested that, you know, how do I draw and everything, I could turn around and be really sort of patronising and arrogant, but I don't want to do that, and it's not me to sort of say these things, but I've been drawing that long, I can literally just sort of eyeball these drawings in and draw them now. When it gets complicated, you know, like big street scenes, a lot of buildings and things like that, I do use aerial perspective lines, and I do occasionally revert to this method. But if I'd have turned around and said, well, how I draw is I just eyeball everything in and just draw, it's not helping anybody. So I thought, well, I've got to come up, you know, with a few methods to show you of how I lay out a drawing when I'm struggling, when it gets too complicated. So this is basically, I'm probably going to get slanted in the comments for this, actually saying, oh, that's a bit of a schoolboy method there, it's not very effective, but it actually is. It may seem very simple, but it is, you know, you'll see when the drawing's finished here, it is very effective actually. Right, okay, I'm not very good at talking and drawing at the same time, so I'll just get a bit of drawing done now. And what I'm doing now, what I'm actually doing now is I'm sort of doing this freehand. We've got this little tower just here, and what I do, I look for the relations between the size, the shape, where one line finishes in comparison to another. You know, instead of having to mark everything out, I could actually do that. I could go back to lining the paper up to mark out, to get that exactly right, but it's not that far away from the corner of the church just there. And we've got the top of the chimney mark just there, and just looking at that, that's just a little bit higher, so not much high, about sort of there, probably even less than that. And obviously it goes over the church about there. I mean, I'm prepared to alter everything. Like I say, these are just sort of rough lines just to get the placement of everything at the moment. So I'm not even too sure how far that comes down. Well, I am, I've got the line there. But if I hadn't got that line there, I wouldn't have any clue. But it's these things that make it easy, and that's why I do them. To give me a guideline. I'll just rub some of the lines out as we go along. I don't want to get confused by them. And those as well on the top there, we don't need those anymore. Actually, there's a bit of a curve on the top there. I'm not too concerned about things like that at the moment. I just want to get the proportions right of everything. That's the top of the chimney there, isn't it? So we'll get that in. Like I say, I'm not too worried about all these little details just yet. You know, just a rectangle is all we need at the moment. We've got the church roof at the back there, but we've got this little window. Goes down to about there. To there. The roof goes across there. Right, Okay, so we've done with those reference lines there now. This roof here comes past the church. Let's just put the rest of that line in there. There's a bit of a, I think they're called buttresses, aren't they? Those things that stick out on the corners of churches. And that edge of that roof kind of finishes about there. Then we've got the tree. Just sort of just loosely put that in for now. We can get more detail with that in a little while. The bottom of the roof is there, just bring that along, kind of lines up about, just past that line there, there's somewhere there, I've got the tree, just coming over it there, like that. And this line here was the top of the hedge. Now I know, although I've drawn a straight line there, that is not in fact a straight line. We're back into perspective lines now. So just to give me a marker point from there to wherever this finishes here, I'll use this barn door as a reference. So that line, you can actually, you know, if you're struggling with this, and you know you're struggling to eyeball it, and you can actually just get your set square, square it up with the edge of the photo, slide it along to the edge of the door, and then sight it along there, and you'll see that that line there comes just past that line there of the church. So we can do the same here. So there's, you know, the line of the church, and we know that that is going to be where the side of that door is. And then I'll just guess the height of it. It's kind of got a little archway by the looks of it. It's a bit obscured by the leaves, but I'm guessing it's going to be something like that. That comes across there, then we've got a gap between there and there, which is considerably bigger than the gap on top. Again, it's just judging these proportions and roughly working out where they are. Now something has gone wrong there, because this line here wants at the top or the bottom of the hedge. The top of the hedge, wasn't it? Actually, right, so we've got that door wrong. I think it goes a bit higher actually, because that line definitely is not straight, and it goes up. That bush sort of comes out there like that. See, this is where if I'd have drawn perspective lines, this would have really helped me. I wouldn't have got that wrong at all. Sort of add shapes in there, just you know, put things in roughly for now, it doesn't matter. So we know that's the line just there, and it comes up a bit higher and over like that, and then that hinge is about there. So that's, it's not even square actually. Let's get that a bit better. That's it. So that's roughly about right there. I think we've got that just about right. We can just see the edge of the door coming underneath the tree there. I'm guessing about there. Maybe, I think I might have come across too far there, so I think it's about there. Goes along there. Just imagine that archway is there behind the tree. trees like that. Okay, let's see, lose sight of it there, so that's okay. The door, a little bit there, which is obviously the side of that building. And then so we're getting into those trees, and I've just noticed, is that tree in line with where the path finishes? I mean, I just took a very rough mark of where that path finished there, which is basically that line there. So it's actually going to, the tree's going to fit just behind that line. So there we go. That's roughly where that tree trunk is there. Just start to put the bottom leaves in there. Finishes below that line, so it's going to be somewhere about there. So like I say, I'm just dropping this in loosely at the moment. You know, I'm prepared to change it at any moment, and I probably will do. I'll notice that something probably doesn't look right, and we'll need to change it. Right, okay. Just checking everything there. I'm not going to draw the tiles in just yet. All that'll be done at the end. And it's the same with these hedges. When you see the time-lapse drawings that I do, you sort of see, you don't see these rough lines. You kind of see that I've, you know, gone a little bit more like that and made everything look a bit more rustic and natural, and how it is, and I kind of get the rubber and neaten everything up so that it looks nice, you know, for the finished drawing, for the first shot of a time-lapse drawing. So anyway, let's move along. Okay. Right, what I'm going to do, I'm going to skip to the other side now and work everything into the middle. It's not my usual way of working, but I just feel like doing it with this one for some reason. Right, so we've got this line here, which we know is that edge there, and we've got that line there, which we know is the centre of that there. So basically that's a very easy line to put in, just like that. It actually looks miles too big, which it probably is, but we can adjust it later. And this one, get the angle right, it comes down roughly like that. These roofs, it's kind of just less than halfway on that. So that's going to finish about there-ish. That's going to finish just a little bit lower. Remove that line there. Sorry if I'm mumbling. I don't talk to myself when I'm drawing. I'm just trying to say things just to so you don't get bored. I mean, the angle there is miles wrong, but it's just gave us the placement of the building. That's the roof, and the edge of that will come. Yeah. What I'm doing, I'm just kind of eyeing up lines. You know, that line there will fall in line with the edge of that window, which is roughly about there on the roof, and that's kind of just what I've roughly gauged. You know, it's like I say, we can, you know, get the rulers and set squares on it if we're. Okay, sorry about that, the camera's just cut out yet again. It's going to keep cutting out every 15 minutes because I've only got 15 minutes record time. But unfortunately, the time it's just cut out then, I didn't notice, I didn't see on the viewfinder that it had cut out, and I just carried on drawing, and I've got a little bit done that you've not seen me draw, but it's only basically that tree I've put in, and I've just started putting that chimney in. and working on some of these roof lines. But what I was saying before the camera cut out, I think I was at the point where I was just saying, you know, use your set square just to sight these lines in and make sure you're confident with them and the placements of them. Okay. Yes, I'm sorry about that. I'll just carry on with these roof lines now and get on with it. So, yeah, I put that centre mark down there earlier, as you saw, and I just followed the line down, drew the chimney, and went along, put the tree in. I think this hedge has gone in as well. I don't think you saw that, but it was basically the same principle as that side. And the same with the tree, so you've not really missed much there. Okay, but now we'll start working on the centre of the drawing. So, right, okay, we'll just put the edge of this in. I'll come down there like that. I've got this angle there. A bit of a funny angle that is, in fact it's a lot less than that, a lot tighter. I think that's going to come across more, like that. Just something like that for now. I've got this other rooftop going across to there. I've just noticed, is that a little, I think we've got another little chimney in there. I'll sort it out towards the end because I'm not too sure exactly where this tree finishes yet. Not that it really matters. I mean, I could just drop that chimney in now just so I know, just to remember that there's one there. Actually, I've not even done that on the wrong roof, haven't I? Oh dear, never mind, let's put it in on the right one then, just there. Okay. So we'll move along. Now this just continues all the way along into these trees, so I guess we better start putting these trees in now. So this first tree, something like that, and they gradually get shorter as they get further away. Remember, this line is almost straight but does run up a little bit, so comes down there. It gets quite confusing at this bit actually, because I don't know if you can see in the photo, probably looks all right one tree. If I bring it a bit closer, you can see that those trees there are actually at the back of these buildings, whereas these trees are obviously in front. When I come to paint that, I'll make that a lot lighter to give more contrast between these two trees, so it doesn't look quite so confusing. And in fact, I think I'm going to leave these hanging branches out as well. I don't think they really do anything much for the composition, so I'll see how we go. Okay, I've got that wrong. Quite a bit shorter than that. So come to there, like that, and I'll finish there. And these trees sort of roughly sort of come out like that. Yeah, we've definitely got lower branches there sort of hanging over that barn door. So that's roughly the outline of those. That's about there. So we've got this. There's a little chimney just sticking out there. I've got to get the bottom of this roof established now. Which basically, I think it's exact, but the bottom of this roof looks like it finishes in line with the top of that roof. In fact, it finishes just a bit lower, more in line with where that chimney is, so we'll just use that as a reference point, just roughly mark that in across there. And this is where, you know, if we're going to get mistakes, it's towards the end where proportions and dimensions are going to be wrong, but this is where you'll really start to see it. But hopefully this is not looking too bad, and it shouldn't do really. I mean, we put plenty of reference marks around there, so we should be okay. I find it difficult to keep this photo still in the frame for you. You'll just have to trust me that I'm actually drawing what I say I'm drawing from here. So now we'll line that chimney up and see what, you know, kind of falls underneath that chimney there. Will we be lucky and be an exact edge of a door or something? Not quite, but it gives us a mark at the edge of this doorway here. Let's get everything square. The edge of that doorway there more or less runs with the edge of that chimney, probably just a little bit less actually. So we'll do the same process here. We'll put the set square to the edge of the page and line it up with the chimney there, and draw a rough line down. We don't know how far it's going to come down or anything at the minute, so that's going to be the edge of the door. Just underneath that roof we've got, I don't know what that is, but it looks like, is it a window or I don't know what it is, but we'll just mark it in. So it looks like a little blue window or an opening of some description. It's about like that. Yeah, so the door is going to be like a triangle piece on the archway. At the edge of these trees we've got, looks like a pillow sticking out there. Kind of falls just in line with that. I'm just checking the camera, just checking the time. Oh, okay. Right, just along there, like that. Comes down like that. This line here, that was where I guess the horizon line was, so that's not actually the bottom of that building. The bottom of the building is going to be, let's see if we can get another reference line where the bottom of that doorway is actually going to be. Line up nicely with anything. No, not really. I was just thinking of using the bottom of that barn door. Lower than the bottom of the barn door there. That's the barn door, a little bit lower. So about there. Okay. It's hard to actually see what's what actually. It looks like there's something like a slab or a step or something sticking out there. Might even be something like that, like a, Sticks out further than that actually. So now we've gone wrong somewhere. That might be set further in, so we'll come back to that. That finishes. I'm just doing this very roughly now, just sort of eyeing this in as best as I can. And then that other door's kind of set back in there. Slightly off centre actually, so actually I don't think it's going to be that wide, is it? Like that. Again, there's another internal archway there. Put that in. We've got some sort of fancy brickwork going along on the outside of this. Again, this is just detail which I probably shouldn't be putting in now, but it's actually helping me to get everything in comparison and get the proportions roughly about right. Okay, get rid of these lines. Okay, I think that's okay like that. Get rid of that line now, I don't need that either. Yeah, that's looking okay, I think. Should be okay at that. I still think that goes back a little bit more like that. Put that in again. Just below that, so that'll give us an idea now of a more accurate placing of where these trees are. About like that, that's it. Okay. So we've got some shade going on here, across there. This line, so if we've got this right, this line should match up nicely with this line here, because that's the edge of the path, and the same just there with this line here. Just draw that straight in and get rid of those lines there. Still looks a bit confusing at the minute, because at the bottom of the drawing there you can still see the lines underneath the masking tape. They'll be removed later on, but at the moment that's looking pretty good. Still not too happy with these trees. I've got to get the perspective right on them and get the trunks in on both sides. So I'll just have a little recap for a minute and just have a look at what's going on. Okay, the camera just cut out again. You didn't miss much this time. I'm just working on this area just here, where the grass sort of goes up like that, and then like a pillar or something is attached to that building. So going up there, and then the trees sort of obscure it. Kind of like that. Looks very funny at the minute, but it's just a rough shape. Comes down there. Got to work out where those trunks come in. We're happy with this bit. Yeah, I actually think that line there comes across more from just there. Like that, that's it. Right, okay. Second tree, so that's kind of spacing like that. And these gradually get closer together. As they move away from us. Start bringing these down. That one actually falls a lot lower than the one on this side. I think that might come a bit lower than that. Sort of looking at from that side of the pillar coming down, so that's going to be roughly the bottom of where the trees start. Okay. I'm not copying the outer edge exactly at all. I'm just sort of doing sort of like a nice random sort of tree shape there, just to improve the look of it a little bit. Can't actually see individual trees there. It just looks like one sort of mass there, but obviously we know there's different trees there because we can see the trunks. So in order so that we don't make that just look like one great big bush there, even though, you know, it's like I say, it's not there, we can't see the individual trees on there because it's in shade. I'm going to use a bit of artistic license and maybe just differentiate between a few of them. You know, particularly the first one, that's where you'd probably see it more actually. Coming down like that. That's bugging me just there, that shape. That should be a bit more like that, that's it. Oh hello, we've got a fly. Clear off. Where's that come from? About like that. Like that. These sort of clumps of grass and flowers and everything kind of just sticking up. Actually, that looks a bit too circular like that, doesn't it? I think that actually even comes down a little bit more. We may have this line wrong actually. I think it's going to come down a little bit further like that. No, that's not looking right. Maybe somewhere in between. that's better. This will come down just a little bit further. I've got this sort of grassy stuff going on here. Yeah. Okay. Just need a bit more sort of shape in these bushes. Actually, there's sort of a gap there. I can see. Don't know if I would bother to actually put that in when I come to paint it, but let's just drop something in like that for now. That bush kind of comes, actually that's quite a big bush, it sort of falls that side of the, that's it, about like that, sort of like that. Again, I'm just roughing in the shapes of them at this stage. I'm not even bothered if I get the exact amounts of them either, it's not really important. Well, it is if you're paying me to do a portrait of your house. I mean, I'll get it exact for you, but just for, you know, a painting demonstration, you know, this is good enough. Gap in there, okay. And that's going to be a lot softer along the bottom there. Getting a little bit samey there, aren't they? Let's make them a bit smaller. Kind of can't see much behind there at all, so we'll leave that. Right, okay. We've got some lines going this way. I'm just looking at that thinking that it's that grass growing in lines that way, or is that the shade of the trees? It looks quite funny actually because we've got shade going this way, which looks right, you know, in conjunction with where the light's falling on the buildings, but this, it seems like the shade's going that way, or is it the grass that's in rows? I can't really tell. I'll have to give that some more thought. I mean, it's definitely following some sort of perspective. Something like that anyway, so. Grass growing along there like that. Okay, so I think I'm about done now for the line drawing stage. I'll just double check everything. Yeah. I mean, now it's at the stage where, you know, I'm going to start tidying everything up, putting the windows in, start drawing the tiles, start detailing the trees, but not that much because I'm going to put a wash of watercolour over this and then go over it with Graphitint and maybe coloured pencils and a bit of white gouache. So I can't really see much more I can do to that as a line drawing. No, I think what I'll do now, I'll pause it at this stage, because basically that has just shown you how to lay out for a drawing. Now, anything further than this is just going to be detail and refining it, you know, like putting the windows in, the tiles on the roof. That's easy to do. We can easily work out where they are, you know. For example, you see that little window there on the church, it kind of sits behind there. You can't really go wrong now at this stage too much. You know, we can put the little bits on top of the church there. There's like a line that goes around there. But I'm sure you can kind of work those bits out. It's not difficult now. These are just like small areas that kind of just naturally fall into place. But that's basically how I lay out a drawing, like that. There are obviously other methods you can use, but I particularly like this method because it's one you can use if you're using a viewfinder, if you're drawing or painting outdoors. If we imagine the white border is the viewfinder and that's the view that you're looking through, you know, you've got your viewfinder kind of standing up on your easel or something, and you can actually just mark the edges of the viewfinder and transfer that to your paper. And obviously if you're using a smaller viewfinder than the piece of paper that you're using, you can actually scale them up using the measurements on your ruler or set square. But that might be a lot of hassle. You might at that stage want to just revert to the grid method or something like that. So there's lots and lots and lots of ways of laying out a drawing, and it's again, it all boils back down to your personal preference, what you prefer doing, what your abilities are, and how much time you've got, etc., and how accurate you want to be. It's like I say, a lot of the time I can just sort of draw freehand and eyeball stuff in, but there are times when there's certain angles on buildings and things like that that catch me out and I need a bit of assistance by marking out some references or using some grids or something. So there's a lot of methods at your disposal there for you to have a go at. I suggest that you probably look at other videos for, you know, aerial perspective and linear perspective, or this video is just going to go on way too long because it's quite a big subject, and there's a lot more to it than I can actually demonstrate just on my little sketch pad there in this video. But what I shall do, the next stage of this video, I'll come back to this drawing and you'll see all the detail put in and it's all tidied up, ready to be painted. And I will show you the painting and the rest of it, the Graphitint and all that. So, right, okay. I don't know if I'm going to add the video on at the end of this or if I'm going to make a separate sort of part 2 video. Yeah, but anyway, thanks for viewing, and I'll join you at the next stage.